Welcome back, folks, to WrestleRant. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews. The last couple of weeks here on WrestleRant have been absolutely nuts with post-WrestleMania Raw episode reviews. Just this past Tuesday, I posted my review of No Way Out 2012 that I forgot to put up 2 months ago. I know at the end of that video, I was talking about post-WrestleMania Raw reviews. Those are already up. It went up out of order. I apologize. We're back on track now. The next couple of weeks will also be nothing too themed, just a lot of random, reviews and whatnot. Today, we're talking about Extreme Rules 2015 as seen on the WWE Network to give you a scope of what's ahead in the next couple of weeks. This is going up on Saturday, so on Tuesday, probably Wednesday, we'll say, probably Wednesday. I'll have my review of Over the Edge 1998, and on Saturday, Over the Edge 1999. The week after that, Over the Limit 2010, 2012, and also Payback 2015 coming up after that. So a lot of random reviews coming here up on the channel in the next couple of weeks. So be aware of that. Stay tuned for that in the month to come. But in the meantime, though, we're talking about Extreme Rules 2015 en route to Extreme Rules 2016 in just a few short weeks. I like this show. I really, really like Extreme Rules. I wouldn't call it my favorite B pay-per-view of WWE's calendar year, but I would say it's up there. I don't really agree with the fact it's, this time of the year again, we have to do all gimmick matches again. And more often than not, every match on the card is not a gimmick match. Like last year last year and on this show, we had the Kiss My Arse match, which had a stipulation, but not really an Extreme Rules match. Stuff like that kind of ruins it for me. I don't know, but typically, I do enjoy Extreme Rules. I enjoyed this show, not the greatest pay-per-view of 2015 by far, but still a very good show overall with a good crowd in Chicago. So kicking off the show itself, we had a good kickoff match, which you can find on the network on the kickoff show between Neville and Barrett. But on the actual show, kicking it off in a Chicago street fight between Dean Ambrose and Luke Harper. A very fun match, but the match ended up going almost an hour long. So I believe the longest match in WWE since Randy Orton versus John Cena, the Iron Man match in October of 2009, because after brawling all over the ring, they took it to the corridors of the arena. I don't know, the bowels of the arena. What's the exact word for it? It's escaping my mind right now. But they jump in a car. Luke Harper gets in the driver's seat. He pushes Ambrose away. Ambrose jumps in the driver or the passenger seat window, and the car drives off into Chicago. Now, me, and along with everybody else, was really, really hoping and thinking that we would get some behind-the-scenes stuff. Maybe the camera crew follows them on the streets of Chicago. Literal Chicago street fight. Unfortunately, that was not the case. They came back later up in the night after the women's match, I believe, or the tag team title match, I think it was. And they continued the match. And they went into the ring, and Dean Ambrose, I think, planted Luke Harper with the Dirty Deeds on a chair to pick up the victory. So I enjoyed the match. It was a lot like, thinking back on it now and watching it back on the network, it was a lot like Brock Lesnar and Dean Ambrose from this year's WrestleMania, and that the match wasn't what it could have been. I enjoyed it for what it was. I think that match with Lesnar was a bigger disappointment, and I've talked about it time and time again, so I won't go on a huge rant here, but Ambrose, to me, doesn't really fulfill that lunatic fringe character that they call him. That nickname, that moniker. He calls himself crazy. He acts crazy with the little mannerisms, the little things that he does. But within his matches, though, he doesn't really come across that way. He can be the resilient, strong babyface, the fighting babyface, but he's not hardcore or, crazy or a lunatic or whatever they try to call him sometimes. We could have got more of that here. They could have been fighting in a bagel shop or on, literally the streets of Chicago or whatever, a pizzeria in Chicago. How perfect would that be? And CM Punk's home for all I care, something like that would have been amazing. And they really dropped the ball there, and I'm still hoping that we get some special on the network where they show the behind the scenes of this matchup that never aired during the pay-per-view. So after that, that match was still going on, technically. We had Dolph Ziggler versus Sheamus, and as I said, a Kiss My Arse match. So the match itself was a standard singles match, but the winner would have the loser force the loser to kiss their ass, pretty much, or arse, whatever. The match itself was pretty good. Ziggler and Sheamus, despite how many times we've seen the match over the last couple of years, they always work well together. This was another very good match from the two. This was around the time Sheamus had just come back to the company. He loses here, which I didn't have a huge problem with because Ziggler barely won by the skin of his teeth. And they, Sheamus didn't fulfill the stipulation. He wasted time. He kind of backed out of it. And before he was right about to do it, he attacked Ziggler from behind. So I thought it was a win-win situation. The feud didn't really do anything for either guy in the end. Sheamus beat Ziggler at Payback, and that was about it. Then he won Money in the Bank. And they booked him like shit from there. And I was really excited to see Sheamus back as a heel. I really thought it had potential to be something big, and I like Sheamus, but like I've talked about here before on WrestleRant and hashtag AskGSM and so on and so forth and other platforms, they book him like a fucking loser. And not that this match really killed his momentum. I thought he should have won here, but I thought it was a fine way of furthering the feud. Ziggler didn't and still has not meant anything, so it's not like him winning here kind of got him back on track. It was a nice little surprise for any Ziggler fans, and it kept the feud alive. But it wasn't really, that big of an upset, or didn't really hinder Sheamus' momentum because he attacked him afterwards anyway. Still a good match. It just really kind of makes me bummed thinking back on it now what could have been with Sheamus. Not on this night, but beyond that in the summer of 2015. They didn't really build him up to be a legitimate threat to the WWE Championship before he cashed in at Survivor Series. And by that point, he was a fucking loser and no one cared about him. So that's what happened with Sheamus in 2015 as a heel when he came back from injury. So after that, for the WWE Tag Team Championships, again, no stipulation here, just a standard tag team match. Like, why even fucking bother? Why even fucking bother? If the show is called Extreme Rules, why even fucking bother? But I can't complain because the match itself was really, really good. Probably, in my opinion, the match of the night, which surprised me a lot because the New Day have always been good. I mean, they were great wrestlers, even when they were baby faces. A shitty-ass gimmick, but great wrestlers nevertheless. And Tyson Kidd and Cesaro are really just kind of getting their momentum, finding their stride as tag team champions, and they were only 2 months into the reign here. I figured it was an easy win for them. In the end, the New Day cheats to pick up the victory and win the WWE Tag Team Championships, and I can remember just like it was yesterday, the entire internet, and initially I was freaked out too, and I was kind of pissed too. I'm like, fuck, they're taking the titles off these guys already, like, fuck this, we hate the New Day, but it turned into them turning heel, the New Day that is, and it turned into a double turn for both teams, and I thought it was brilliant. There was no better place to do that than in Chicago because they shat all over it. And this is what really kind of kicked off the reign of the New Day that we have today. And going into Extreme Rules 2016, they're going to be defending those WWE Tag Team Championships. It's not one continuous reign. But regardless, I think they did a really great job by these guys by having them win here. So at the time, I mean, at least for a split second, I thought, wow, that was stupid. But then like 10 seconds later, I realized, hey, they cheated to win. They're probably going heel. And I know everyone was trying to say, oh, that was awful. The match was great, but I hated the result. I mean, looking back on it now, it was what was, I hate to say the cliche, but best for business. It was what was best for both teams. And in the end, it was also a really, really good match. So it could have been, better benefited by a tornado tag team stipulation or something. We would get a 2 out of 3 count falls match between the two teams at Payback, I think. So kind of ass backwards that we got the stipulation match at Payback and not at Extreme Rules. But nevertheless, a still very, very good match from two teams with a title change as well. So after that, a Russian chain match between John Cena and the former U.S. champion Rusev for the United States Championship. A strap-like matchup in that you had to tag all 4 ropes, or rather corners, to score the victory. And I hate strap matches. This was probably the best strap-esque match I've ever seen in WWE. I didn't like CM Punk versus Umaga from 09's Extreme Rules. I didn't like Shad versus JTG from 2010's Extreme Rules. I didn't like Sheamus versus Mark Henry from 2013's Extreme Rules. I just think those matches are complete and utter shit. They're just so fucking boring. But Cena and Rusev, I thought the match at Mania was all right. I thought the match at Fastlane was their best. This was a good match, not extremely amazing or anything like that, but still good for what it was, given the stipulation they had to, sustain by, they kind of had to pertain by here. But still a good match, nothing great, nothing terrible. John Cena retains, no shocker there. Lana, Rusev kicked her out from ringside, and she would demand a rematch against Cena in an I Quit match at Payback, which she would lose also. So that was kind of random. I don't know why they continued the feud going into that pay-per-view, but whatever. Still a good match on this show. For the Divas Championship, up next, Nikki Bella defending the gold against Naomi. And a decent match. I just didn't get who the fans were supposed to cheer for. The crowd didn't shit on it like I thought they would, which was good, pleasantly surprising there. But other than that, the match was just there. Naomi had just gone heel. I think this was the night she debuted the new I'm amazing. I know, terrible singing, I apologize. But it's a great song. It debuted on this night, I believe. And she debuted the whole heel shtick, and I guess by virtue of that, they turned the Bella Twins face in Chicago. So I don't really know if the crowd knew who to cheer for here. I don't think they really cared. I don't even think they cared enough to shit all over. They just kind of sat on their hands. And in the end, it sucked because Naomi should have won, but they had Nikki Bella retain. So Naomi's heel turn went to waste. And she lost the next match. She might have won a tag team match at Elimination Chamber, but she also lost a Payback and every other pay-per-view match going forward. So it really meant nothing in the end. So that fucking sucked. But I really thought that should have been the night they should have put the belt on Naomi because she still deserves it to this day. After that, a last man standing match, which you can also argue was the match of the night. This was a really, really good match. Considering who was involved, was a huge shocker how good of a match this was between the Big Show and Roman Reigns. And Roman Reigns, fresh off his loss at WrestleMania 31 to Brock Lesnar, people were, still hesitant to cheer and get behind Roman Reigns, but this was a breakout performance for Roman Reigns. Coming off his great match with Brock Lesnar and Daniel Bryan at Fastlane and WrestleMania, respectively, this was another breakout performance for Roman Reigns on pay-per-view. Just a really, really good match. And Big Show deserves credit, too. I've said before, and I always forget to mention this match, when people ask me my favorite Big Show match, which is, I can't even say far and few between, because I can't name one really, really, really good Big Show match other than, in the time that I've been a fan anyway, other than the match that he had with Floyd Mayweather at WrestleMania 24. Technically, I wasn't a fan yet, but that match was great. The match he had with Sheamus at 2012 Hell in a Cell, that was a great match. And this match was also very entertaining, so I'd probably put those three matches up there with my favorite three Big Show matches since I've been a fan, or of all time, whatever. But this was really, really good. Also, the fact that it was like a total disaster. It was the perfect storm here of sorts, in that you had two people that I didn't care about. Roman Reigns was still floundering. I hate the Big Show, and the match stipulation sucks more often than not. You can either have a really, really good last man standing match, or a really, really shitty slash boring last man standing match. And this was quite the opposite. A great match from Roman Reigns and Big Show. Roman Reigns putting Big Show through like a couple tables. Big Show choke slamming Roman Reigns through a table at ringside. That wasn't enough. So Big Show spears, or rather Roman Reigns spears Big Show through the barricade at ringside. Then another spear through a commentator's table at ringside as well. That's enough to put Big Show down for the 10 count. He was off TV for a little over a month, which was great. And Roman Reigns avenges his loss from WrestleMania to an extent. So really, really good match there. Again, if you call that the match of the night, I wouldn't blame you. And then we get to the main event, the steel cage match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Seth Rollins defending against Randy Orton. And what I thought was a good match, but again, watching it back, I could see why people shit on it at the time, and also in retrospect, it was very overbooked. Nothing too shocking, basically what I thought it was. And it also really doesn't help that I thought the WrestleMania match was fucking great. Definitely up there with some of my favorite WrestleMania matches of all time. I ranked number 5 on my WrestleMania recall list of my top 31 favorite WrestleMania matches of all time. That might be too high of a placement, but I fucking love that match from WrestleMania 31. This match, of course, kind of paled in comparison. Like I said, a lot of interference from J&J Security and Kane attacking both guys, leaving the cage, coming back in the cage. I don't know if I wrote it before the pay-per-view or after the pay-per-view or what, but the stipulation, the steel cage stipulation, sadly does not mean what it once was. Like, when steel cage matches nowadays are announced, I assume that interference will be happening. It welcomes interference. It doesn't keep people away. It welcomes interference. That has always been more often than not the case at Extreme Rules. That was no exception here on this pay-per-view. So, again, not a shitty match, just very overbooked in more than one respect, and also the RKO was banned, so just a lot of things to kind of keep in mind here. So this match was really all over the place. But in the end, it was Seth Rollins scoring the victory with an RKO of his own. And people were saying, I thought the RKO was banned, but it was only Orton who couldn't use it. It was a very, hocus pocus, wishy-washy stipulation. But anyway, in the end, the important thing was that Rollins retained. He had just won the championship at WrestleMania. He did not need to lose here. The important thing was that he barely escaped by the skin of his teeth on this show by retaining his WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So overall, like I said, Extreme Rules 2015, I enjoyed it. Not a great show. There are other installments of Extreme Rules that I talked about last year and 2 years ago too, when I reviewed Extreme Rules 2009 that I thought were better than this one. I fucking loved 2011 and 2012. I thought those installments of Extreme Rules were the best. And 09 was great too. So check out those installments before this one. But I would rank this one higher than 2014 was pretty good. 2014 was entertaining. 2013 was good too. Not an amazing show, pretty good. So, I don't know. I think this is on the par with other installments. Not as good as some of the other ones like 2011 and 2012, but this is certainly up there. Not a bad Extreme Rules pay-per-view yet. Hopefully this year's pay-per-view, this year's installment will keep that strong streak alive. But anyway, any matches to watch from this show? I would say the tag team title match was really, really good. Kicked off the new reign of the New Day. And also Roman Reigns versus Big Show, surprisingly, in that last man standing match, I thought was actually great. And the rest of the show held up its own very well. So that is my review of Extreme Rules 2015. As always, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'll be back on Tuesday or Wednesday, probably Wednesday. It all depends now on when I record WrestleRant Radio, but probably Wednesday. My review of Over the Edge 1998 as seen on the WWE Network will be up here on the YouTube channel. But in the meantime, in between time, you guys can find me on Twitter at WrestleRant. Give the Facebook page an old thumbs up at facebook.com/graham.gsn.matthews. And also visit the website at nextairwrestling.net. All the links are down below in the description box. So as always, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch you folks down the road.